Manchester United's ratings in EAFC. Just a disclaimer, these are all predictions, so let's have some fun. First up with goalkeepers, it's a bit shaky at United, but you've got Dean Henderson, who probably won't stay at the club. This season weren't the greatest for him as he got injured, so I've kept him at a 79 rated. But it wouldn't surprise me if he left on a permanent basis from United this season. And then the second United keeper, which again isn't guaranteed he's staying, is David De Gea. At the time of recording this, apparently De Gea's agreed to cut down his wages, but United have pulled out of giving him a new contract. There is a very strong possibility that he stays at the club and signs a new contract, but it is pretty guaranteed United need a goalkeeper. But even though De Gea had a very on and off season with winning the Golden Glove but also being pretty poor, I've downgraded him from an 87 to an 86. If he stays at United, okay, maybe he could stay at 87, but I think if he leaves United, he is guaranteed a downgrade even though he won the Golden Glove. But moving on to defenders, Malacia is the first one at 79 rated. I've kept him at 79 rated because he's a very rotational player this year and he had good spells but nothing enough to boost him up. Then you have Dalot, who had a pretty good season, 78 last year. I've bumped him up to an 80 because, you know, he had a very good season, but it wasn't also like a world beater season where he hasn't even secured that right back spot for United. He could even go up to an 81, but I felt that was pretty harsh considering he's not a knock-on starter. So yeah, 80 rated it is. Then you've got Wan-Bissaka at an 80 rated this year. I've kept him at an 80 rated because he has kind of wormed his way back into the United squad. But again, with Dalot, it's a toss-up between who starts, Wan-Bissaka or Dalot. So for that reason, I haven't upgraded him, but I also haven't downgraded him. Then you've got Harry Maguire. I mean, yeah, no one really knows if he's leaving the summer or not. There is speculation he could be going to Spurs this year, but as of the time of recording this, he is a United player, so he was an 81 rated this year. I've downgraded him to an 80. I think it's fair to say, and I think United fans will agree with me, that it just never worked out for Harry Maguire, and the quicker he leaves the club would be the better for everyone. Then you've got Lindelof going from an 80 rated to an 81. Honestly, I think he is a very underrated player. Yes, he's not a full-on starter, but as a squad rotational player, as soon as he comes into the team, he always seems better, and how Maguire sometimes started ahead of him, who knows. But yeah, an 80 rated to an 81 is very fair. Then you got Rafael Varane. Again, since he's come from Real Madrid to United, we've never seen that same Varane. Yes, he has been injured quite a bit, but that's why I've kept him at an 84 rated this year, because he showed some very good spells and he showed why he was one of the best defenders in the world. But he just hasn't been the best defender in the world. He has been good, but at times he's been poor and he's been injured. But starting off with the first massive upgrade to the United squad, it is Luke Shaw going from an 80 rated to an 84. I think it's fair to say Luke Shaw is up the top there with one of the best left backs in the world. I'm not saying he's the best left back in the world, but he's definitely top 5 in the world. And then the last defender, which has another big upgrade, Martinez, who everyone kind of writ off last year, including me. But it's fair to say everyone's pretty much changed their opinion because of how good he was this season. So it's only fair for him to go to an 81 to an 84 rated because he was one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League this season. Before his injury, he may be able to go higher, but because of his injury and it is his first season in the Premier League, I've kept him at 84. Moving on to the midfielders, Van der Beek is the first one. Again, just another player that it never worked out at United, so I've downgraded him from 79 to a 78. Then you've got Scott McTominay. I've kept him at an 80 rated this year, mainly because of his Scotland performances. If it weren't for internationals, I probably would have downgraded him by 1 because he's not really had a sniff at the United team this season, but he was very good for Scotland this year, so yeah, I've kept him the same. Which brings me on to another player I've kept the same, and that is Fred. An 80 rated this year and staying at an 80 rated just because he is one of them rotational players. I don't really think he's done anything bad this season, but again, he's not really had the time to do something good, so I think an 80 rated is fair. And then for 3 in a row, staying the same this year is Christian Eriksen, going from an 82, staying at an 82. Maybe because I saw a lot of controversy from the United fans, some saying that he's just not it anymore, and some saying he should be in the team any day of the week. Then you've got Bruno Fernandes, one of the players that I hate most, but I can appreciate how good he is. And that is why I've upgraded him from an 86 to an 87, Could he go to an 88? Yeah, probably, and he probably does deserve it, but I've pushed him up to an 87 instead. He is just one of the best midfielders in the league, if not the world. But the final midfielder is Casemiro for Man United. When he came into the United team, he was phenomenal, and if I'm honest, his performances are the reason they got top 4. But at the same time, he did have some shady spots in the season, especially when he had a few suspensions, and he had a little downfall in form, but he was still one of the best CDMs in the world. It was a toss-up between him and Rodri for the season. For me, I think Rodri, by the end of the season, just went over the top of him. But Casemiro, I've kept at an 89 rated for this year. He could have gone to a 90, but I felt like that was a little bit too generous, so an 89's very, very fair. And now time to the attackers, and this is a brand new player in FIFA, that is Garnacho. For some reason, Garnacho, even though he's been playing for Man United for over a year now in the Premier League, he's just not been in FIFA. So I have given him a 76 rated card. He is again another player that I'm not really a massive fan of, mainly probably because he plays for Man United, but I can appreciate talent when I see it. But on to Anthony Martial, again another season where he's been injured here or there, and when he did play he was pretty decent, but nothing to warrant an upgrade. I haven't downgraded him, so he stays at an 80 rated. Jadon Sancho, another season to kind of forget. He did have his games, but again, I don't think Ten Hag really trusted him because he didn't get that much game time, but when he did, he showed some stuff. Other times he showed why he isn't getting game time, and yeah, I think it's fair to say after a few seasons at Man United now, he's gone from an 84 to an 82. But someone that did improve the Man United front line this summer is Antony, going from an 82 to an 83. I actually really like Antony, and I think he's a quality player. He just needs to work on his finishing. And for me, he is very much a player that stats don't say his whole game. Yes, he's not really getting the goals and assists, but if you watch him play, he is electric. But that moves us to the final Man United player, and that is Marcus Rashford, having one of the best seasons of his career. Going from an 81 rated this year, I've boosted him all the way up to an 85. I'm pretty sure Man United fans would probably be shouting at me going, he should be an 87 or stuff like that. Lads, he was an 81 this year. A +4 is pretty good. So I think an 85, definitely if he does another season like this next year, he could be in the conversation of an 87 rated card. But before you think the video's finished there, it is not. We've still got one more. And that is a potential one to watch, and it could be Man United's first signing this summer, Mason Mount. Although I have downgraded him from an 84 to an 83, and that is mainly due to injuries, and he just wasn't really a part of Chelsea's team last year. I mean, who would want to be at 12th? But at the same time, you can't really keep a player at an 84 rated if he doesn't play and he's injured. The fee looks like it's going to be around 60 million for him going to Man United, but at the same time, he looks like he could be a very good pivotal part in Man United's squad. But that has been it for Man United's EAFC ratings. If there's any you disagree with, put in the comments. But yeah, if you want to see more, make sure to like, subscribe, and peace.